$120 overtakes is not bad.
Yes. That's exactly what we want to open the live stream with, Soumil,
Oh
isn't
wow,
it?
we're live. Oh wow, I got so immersed in looking at my Twitter feed and all the different things that have happened in the race. Even while commentating, Kunal, sometimes you can't have an overall landscape of what's gone down. And I think it's the first time in many months that we're actually able to discover more things that happened in this race, in spite of us commentating, which means it was a good race.
It was a fantastic race, and all the pessimistic comments that everyone's had, including us, should we reconsider them, or should we just are we jumping the gun just based on one qualifying in one race? Or has Formula One swapped great racing for poor qualifying? Because what was happening till last year? Qualifying used to be fantastic. The gaps were so close. Everyone was, within a second, all 20 cars. Your the gaps are big. But in the races, at least the form factor that we called was pretty good, right? When last Sommel did you see an overtake for the lead lap after lap, lap after lap. And then by the end of it, the top five or two world champions chasing other drivers for race positions. I think it was very, very impressive. Are you complaining?
Exactly. Who can complain about this? Who can complain about this? Even Ankita, who's just joined in the stream, is saying, "Hey guys, what a race! Man, Arvind did so good. Arvind Lindblad can't complain. We can't complain." Honestly, you're right about that, Kunal. When did we last see three cars fighting for the lead? When did we last see cars actually able to swap positions with each other in spite of there being a clear performance delta between both the machines? Like the Ferrari, say what you want about the strategy, and we will say what we want about the strategy, but we, they just weren't on the same level as Mercedes, but still they kept fighting, Kunal, for I don't know how many laps. Was it, what, 10, 12?
It was longer. It was 12 laps, right? Because till the first virtual safety car came out. And, again, we called this on the official broadcast on fan code when we were doing commentary. Typically, we'd see just the Max taking, battle to the McLaren's lap after lap. What would other drivers do? If you get overtaken or you make an overtake, you pull off a gap and you cool down your car. Russell and Leclerc, and then followed by Hamilton, were not doing that. They were at it hammer and tongs. And George Russell and Leclerc actually explained this post race. They said overtaking is more, but it's a lot more strategic, and how you use your battery. The battery was one of the reasons why George was able to make an overtake, and then because he's used up his battery, get overtaken by Leclerc. Now I know this is getting technical, and it's when we get technical we realize, but that may not have been a genuine overtake. But truthfully, when we saw it at over 300 kilometers per hour, it was fun.
Yeah, well, for all the people saying it was not a genuine overtake, it was not a genuine battle. What is a genuine battle again? Like, does the energy that power the machine decide whether the battle is genuine or not? Like, if you look at Audi versus Porsche in LMP1 from the 2014 all the way to 2016, some of the best racing ever. Are you going to look at that and say it's not genuine? Rubbish. Like, what do you mean? What's a genuine battle, Kunal?
A genuine battle is what we see in racing, right? I mean, there's always been a performance delta between cars when we've seen overtakes that have happened, when we've seen battles that have happened. And I believe in the first 12 laps, when they were also battling each other, they were battling equal cars. Otherwise, George could have
Yeah.
overtaken and pulled away. He couldn't. Leclerc could have overtaken and pulled away, and he couldn't. And Leclerc himself has admitted that Mercedes just seemed faster than the Ferraris in qualifying, but that was not so much in the race. And I think that gives us a lot of hope for the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly. It was just so much fun. Now imagine if the development curve brings Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull together. Imagine if McLaren also are able to get better. And on merit, Lando Norris was able to keep Max Verstappen behind. I know Max had a different trajectory in the race, and his tires were obviously in a different state, and so was his mindset and whatever. But nonetheless, Max versus Lando was a legitimate battle. It went down to the last line. Bortoleto versus Lindblad was such a fun battle. Ocon versus Gasly was such a fun battle. Even Lindblad was in the middle of that too.
Behrman
Cadillacs
and
versus
Lindblad.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
lots of battles. And Frederick Vasseur has called this one of the most entertaining opening races of the season. And I'm not sure I fully agree with that. I mean, yes, our emotions are high because let's remember, we've all come from a very dull state of qualifying yesterday. So suddenly this candy was handed to us. And we're like, oh my God, that's the best candy in the world or whatever. But yes, lots of battles. Already a comment saying, just give Lando the title of the British Minister of Defense already. Was he defending
Well,
or was Max not attacking? I think Max just that was it. That was all that he had. Max didn't attack Lando apart from trying to pressurize him into making a mistake, which is also a form of attack.
yeah, I think they reached the limit. You're right, Kunal. Like I think Red Bull Racing found their limit, at least for Melbourne. Like this car could be better at Shanghai or some other places, but I think that's all they had.
That's all they
Even with
had.
McLaren, like you
Yeah.
could see Lando doing what low 1 minute 23s at some point, where the Mercedes were doing 1 minute 22.8s and 122.7s or something. There were points where Lando was faster, but throughout the race distance, he just got stuck in his own traffic jam, and that's just the most average start to a championship defense. It's just what it is. That's all they have.
Yes, average start. And again, one of the things, even though it's a new formula, one of the things that this formula showed was clean air was still king because when
Yes.
George Russell had clean air, he could manage those tires and he made a one stop work in a race where Norris and Verstappen said we had excessive graining and we needed to do two stops. So, why don't we rewind it all, Soumil? Because we had a new start procedure, which was exciting. We suddenly see pre-start going up, and you're hearing all those engines rev. And I loved how Chetan was playing it up, saying this is where petrol heads love all the sounds. And before we knew it, the five lights went out because Leclerc called it the fastest lights off that he's seen in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And the cars were just flying as expected. The Ferraris went flying off the start.
That was a great getaway. I was going mad. Did you see the wheel spin Antonelli had? Uh,
Insane, right? And a lot of things are coming out post race. They will keep coming. We're reading through the data. Charles Leclerc said he had very low battery at the start, and he was
Ooh.
surprised why it was that. So he actually, when he made the start, he thought he's going to fall back to P8 or P9, right? And then he realized that others had far worse. And Kimi Antonelli had no battery. In fact, one of the reasons why he also had wheel spin was he couldn't do burnouts leading up to the grid because he had no battery. So
What?
Leclerc then realized that other drivers had more issues at the start than he did. And that's why guess who darted off into the race lead?
And how he squeezed Lewis Hamilton too in the process, because Hamilton had an equally good getaway, but then he got squeezed into the outside of turn number one and then just couldn't make the most of it. And even Lindblad, like, firstly, salute to Albert Lindblad. Like, that kid does not care. Like, he was born after Lewis Hamilton made his debut, and yet he was not afraid to go toe to toe with him. Like, that's just what it is. He's grown up watching Max Verstappen dominate in the Red Bull fold. Doesn't care. He'll fight him. Like, I really enjoyed that. Antonelli with the wheel spin, Lindblad fighting, Norris trying to survive over there as well in the middle. A couple of other really fun people, but I can't recollect. But it was a very fun start.
It was. And, Fernando Alonso, my favorite starter on
Oh
the grid,
yeah.
he went from 17th to 10th place, right? So, right off, right off Aston Martin, Honda, all you may, but they were there fighting. And, Fernando said, we've never done a practice start. We've never done a pit in and out because we never had the chance. We've never done a formation lap. So, we are learning all the time, and we used this as an excessive learning there. People are saying for me Arvid is definitely the driver of the day for sure. And one word on Arvid fighting Lewis. Arvid said actually it was one of those pinch me moments that he had, and it reminded me suddenly of Kush Maini when Kush was at the postseason driver test in Abu Dhabi, and suddenly he saw Lewis in his mirrors, and he said, "Meri Fatka." You guys remember that from the previous stream? So that was Arvid being all British when he said it was a pinch me moment.
Yeah, he told us about this story on the Inside Line F1 podcast. By the way, check out that whole hour-long interview we did with Arvid. It's available on the podcast. It's a proper documentary on his life and the journey he's taken to get to where he is today. But yeah, it was that. It's very cool how it went out. Also, I am so happy to see Oliver Behrman do well, and more than Oliver Behrman. I am a proud Audi fanboy today. Like, I am so happy that Audi are in the points in their first race. Because this is the same team, Kunal, that a couple of years ago, did they had just like 1 or 2 points finishes, Sauber. Now look,
Yes.
first race and they're on merit with their own power unit, with their own driver. First time ever doing things. They're in the top 10 on merit.
And it's a new manufacturer altogether, new chassis built by them. They've been building chassis all these years, but they've also built their own power unit. Bortoletto in Q3, Hulkenberg was 11th. Hulkenberg had a technical issue in the start. At the start, he had to be rolled onto the grid, and then they just realized it's better to take him off because they couldn't fix the car. But every time Bortoletto has started in Q3, he has gone to score points. He did it for the fifth time today, and I just loved how he was able to pull off overtakes as well. So not just building the power unit, but running the whole software, writing the whole software that runs it. Remember, Audi just power themselves. They do not have customer teams like Mercedes did. So Mercedes does. So even more learning curve for them. I loved what they did, Soumil. And you know, just goes to show 8 out of the 10, no, actually 8 out of the 11 teams scored points today. And when last, did we see that? Typically, it's always been on an average 6 or 7 team scoring points, but 8 teams scored points. Yes, Piastri wasn't at the in the race, nor was Isaac Harjar, so that opened up to point scoring opportunities. But you got to grab them with both your hands. And talking of start, we should talk of Oscar Piastri and him not
Oh,
making
man.
the start. I know you and I were preparing on the official feed and we saw it and we were just like, what did we just see? Is that something from the previous years or what? But so unfortunate.
I firstly thought it was Lando who'd been it. As I saw a yellow helmet, I was like, what? Now? And then it becomes even worse when you see Piastri because Chetan kept pointing out that very important stat, and it rings even further. There has never been an Australian driver on the podium of the Australian GP. We've had Mark Webber and Oscar Piastri in their prime. It's just never happened. There's some. We need to put it out there. There is an Australian driver in Australia curse. There's no other way to put it.
The
There
way
is a
there's a
curse, Kunal.
Monegasque, the way there's a Monegasque driver in Monaco as well. The curse in Monaco, although he did break it
He broke it, yeah.
last year before last, he broke it. So maybe Oscar's got to wait one more year. But very interesting. Yesterday, everyone kept saying Max Verstappen driver issue, where he wasn't. It was an issue with his ERS. It was just. It was more what's the word? It was more aggressive than they were expecting it to be. Today, in the race, Oscar Piastri actually explained he had a 100 kilowatt power surge on
Yeah.
his power unit, something he never experienced all weekend. As soon as he went on that curb and he, changed his gear, and he said everything operated as it should, but he still just spun because he had excessive wheel spin. And this is where I think he's definitely complaining because he did what he's done all his life, which is go up a gear, right? But these this new formula maybe needs drivers to drive a little differently with these power surges and so on. We spoke of mistakes that drivers would make in the pre-race live stream. We actually saw a world championship contender, Oscar Piastri, make that mistake amongst many.
Seriously, it can happen to anyone. We've got more questions as well on the chat. Let's answer them one by one. Firstly, Sandiam19 says Max definitely driver of the day. Proud of Arvid for sure. Max. Again, the thing is, it's so normal with Max doing what he's doing. So we should come to it in a second. But Abhinav Sinha's question is actually a very interesting one. Hey guys, what are your honest opinions about these regulations? Like, in my honest opinion, the overtaking is very artificial and it's just a game of cat and mouse. And also, do you think this is Mercedes' actual pace? Uh, let's break it down one by one. And I'm going to ask the same question again. What is an artificial overtake and what is a genuine overtake? Like, what?
a Formula One car overtaking a Formula Two car is an artificial overtake. And then, if we just break it down, why do we say that? Because Formula One cars just have a massive performance delta, right? Uh, what we are used to, and I sort of feel, Abhishek out here, was that, you know, what we are used to is overtaking under braking, overtaking that's happening because, you've taken the wrong line or the right line, overtaking that's happening at the exit of corners, right? And I don't believe what we saw today was necessarily as artificial to the eye, because come what may, they were still going 300 kilometers per hour. They were still trying to block a driver. We saw Leclerc extremely aggressive in defense.
Even Lewis.
Even Lewis, we could see that the cars were able to, they could throw it into corners, and I believe the overtaking was less artificial than any one of us expected it to be. But like you said, what is artificial overtaking and what is real overtaking? I'd love to break that down someday.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're going to complain all our lives. When there was no overtaking, we said, oh, there's no overtaking. Now that we have overtaking, we're complaining and saying it's artificial or it's not genuine. Like, what? Like,
And I can just add to what you said, because what did we have last year? You'd flip the DRS open, you'd overtake, and then you would just hope that you were able to pull that 2 second gap ahead, 1 second for the DRS so your driver behind doesn't get it, and 2 seconds so you're just comfortable and you're pulling at your pace, and the driver behind would just happily let you go, as well, because you wanted to have clean cooler air in your on your car. Clean air is king. But we didn't see that today, especially
yeah,
not in the first half of the race. The drivers were very happy to sit behind each other's wake, try and make that overtake happen in the braking zone, because that's again something that's different this year. The braking zones are much longer, which is one of the reasons why everyone's hoping that there will be more overtaking. So I would say let's not judge it too much on one race itself. After qualifying, my fears were compounded. I almost didn't sleep. I had to wake up at 4 in the morning, and I was just scratching my head saying, how am I going to deliver this on commentary? But when we actually started the race, my fears were, completely washed away, I would say. And I'm happy to give this more time after what we've seen today, Somal.
yeah, ditto, 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 ditto. I just want to have a fun time on Sunday. I do not care. Put hydrogen, put jet fuel, put LPG. I don't care. I, I don't care. Like, let's make it sound good, A, which it does sound good, and B, just make it close, which it was. And by close, you're going to say things like, oh, but 12 and a half seconds and 13 seconds, and Ferrari were not there, and la 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 la. Listen, that's development. They will come close. But the fact that Ferrari was so slow comparatively and was still able to fight tells you that these cars can fight. It's a positive
Apps.
step.
Yeah, and here's a comment. I can't read the full thing out, but this race was effing better than those ground effect ports, especially towards the end of the ground effects era. Most definitely. More comments. Somebody saying, dude, what championship contender PS3? Average, mediocre, Norris and PS3 already washed. Well, they were in the contention for the
Wow.
championship, at least
Wow.
statistically.
One second. We need to digest this comment. There's a lot of you that have brought back some really interesting comments. So let's go one by one. As today's episode is just about that. It's just about discussing how we all felt about it. Nostromo says, what world championship contender Piastri? Average, mediocre Norris, and Piastri already washed. Wow. How many of us agree with that? I, maybe not to the same degree, but I don't think they're the two best drivers on the grid. Let me just say that.
I would say one of them is not, and one of them is, and you guys can keep guessing which ones I'm talking about.
Lance Stroll.
Uh,
Well,
but
we've got
let's,
more. Shauvik's got a comment. Shavik
y-
says, by the way, good to see you, Shavik. Always
yeah,
good to see you. What is the scope of the in-season development in these new era of cars? Have the regulations changed in the money that can be spent on development or the number of races where changes can be brought in? Budget cap, isn't it? That's going to restrict how many upgrades teams can bring in. But obviously, if there's a clear laggard, the FIA have also made a leeway for that, that they can let one engine manufacturer get back if they're clearly far behind. So that in this case would be Honda. More development
yes,
time, more parts allocation, stuff like that, I suppose.
Also, you will still have the regular aero packages that we've seen all these years come through within the budget cap as every team's development cycle evolves through the season. So that will anyway continue. A lot of development on the battery will be software side of the development as well. Like Leclerc said something which blew up on social media yesterday. He said the more the number of laps we do, the more our systems are able to tell us how to deploy energy and battery better. And I was actually wondering if Ferrari are actually using AI to to help them understand this energy management and deployment as well. Robert Law is here saying overtaking is overrated, pushing cars to the limit is racing, not Lyco. There is a point in that, no doubt about it. But if this is the formula that we have, I'd rather we figure a way to enjoy what we have today. And you know when cars were being pushed to the limits in those ground effect eras, braking zones were so short that they did not create more overtaking opportunities. And to me, it's not about overtaking. I just want on track battles. Whether you're
Yeah.
doing Lyco, you're flat out, you're braking last, braking late. And Leclerc actually said this, that overtaking is no longer going to be about the bravest driver on the brakes. It is going to be about strategic decisions that you need to make. Am I pleased about that? I'm not. But since F1 has taken this step forward, okay, I'm happy to see cars finishing races, and I'm happy that they're able to go wheel to wheel. Doesn't matter what they have to do on the under the hood, truthfully.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. As long as it's not pure electric, I'm fine. Like, you can like all you want. Like, it's okay. Like, the qualifying, no. Now that's where I want to draw the line. Like, I want them to be able to have. I don't know how they do it, but my solution for Formula One, even though they didn't ask for it, is have quali on full push. Like, just give just give everyone a full. I mean, I know it's going to be sounding very stupid because allocation and stuff like that and deployment is a big factor, but I just don't want battery to be a factor in qualifying. In the race, I do, because that's another variable, and more variables means better racing, very clearly. But in qualifying, I don't like the fact that they have to downshift at the start of a straight, or in the middle of a straight. However, if that happens in the race, I don't mind, because fuel saving has also been a part of racing for the longest time, and there were times in the past as well where you just have to lift and coast and just do that. It's not like it's a new concept. Lyco's been around forever, like as long as racing's been alive. So you can't just come back today and be like, hey, Lyco is new and it's anti-racing. Lyco's been there forever, lift and coast. I mean, so it's
That's true, and KSGM has said something similar. Like, I don't want to watch Max pushing to the limit and pulling 20-second gaps,
yeah,
because that's the other side of racing as well. And Soumil, you've been called out by Sadhana saying Soumil just said Oscar Piastri is not one of the best. I love how
fickle,
fickle Soumil's love is.
fickle.
Yes, and Praveen
Somehow
has
you know us better. Come on, fickle. I'm hurt. I just kidding.
Art of
Relax.
Racing is saying battery is a new curse word in the world of Formula One. Yes, at the moment it seems like it, especially in qualifying. Like I said, the previous eras of Formula One had beautiful qualifying sessions and terrible races. Based on a factor of one that we've seen in Australia, this era of qualifying had a disastrous qualifying session. But we've had a fantastic race today. But will the races settle down as teams figure out energy management, deployment strategies, and add more downforce? Praveen, yes, that is exactly what's going to happen. Leclerc has said, this is how we've started. It's great because I know we will continue to develop. There will be a development war that will not see Mercedes run away with this through the season. Because Samuel, you clearly said Mercedes is going to be constructors and drivers world champions. Do you still stand by that?
Sign it, seal it, put my name on it. Just I don't care. They're winning. Surely they're winning. I
And
want to be proven wrong. I want to be proven wrong.
you want to be proven wrong. And Sandy is saying, I want to see Max pushing to the limits. It's Maxter class, pure adrenaline. I was hoping for that today. I was hoping to see more
Yeah.
from Red Bull powertrains, but I think Hadjar's unexpected retirement probably just pushed them into more conservative mode, saying, let's run and bank in all those points. But Max going from wherever at the back of the grid to the top five positions, it's was very good. And truthfully, if you were to break it down, Zeno MUFC,
United fan. Let's go.
yes, He said, I don't think the race was great except for the first quarter. And that is bullseye because did Ferrari rob us of a great race? Why did they not pit under the virtual safety car? If they would have pitted, would they have battled Mercedes all race long? Lots of questions that will go unanswered forever, just like a lot of Ferrari strategies.
I would assume so, wouldn't you? Like, because in clean air, there is no denying George is faster, and that's what he showed. But it's a big what if in my head as well, Kunal. Like, what if they tag teamed on George and just slowed him down?
I wish they would
Like,
have done that, right? I wish they would have done that. And one of the reasons why Frederick Vasseurs, we called this so right on the broadcast, Soumil. My mind is getting flashbacks, right? That's why I'm getting all excited. So why did Ferrari not pit the virtual safety car? Because they were thinking, they knew that it's the first race of the season. They were seeing reliability issues. They knew more virtual safety cars would come. So they said, well, we'll wait a bit. But what was also compounding their decision was the tires were lasting better. They were not experiencing graining. So they said, why don't we just continue to push? Then the second virtual safety car came, but it came with a pit lane entry that was closed. So they couldn't pit. And that's the excuse Frederick Vasseur gave us.
well, I mean, great. This is what the motor sport is all about. These are things that make it part of the sport. Like in football, you can complain about your left back going too far up and not have enough cover on the defensive side, so your centre mid has to come back, and then there's an empty space in the middle. Like, it's a sport. Like, this is part of it. Like the pit lane being closed and Ferrari having to go to an alternate start. It's part of the sport. There is no reason to complain. I'm fine. Listen, like, it's you can't tell me otherwise. It would have been a better race also if Ferrari were closer and if they were better. So curse them for not being better. Don't curse the cars and the regulations for giving a boring race, because what are the cars and regulations supposed to do? Make sure the drivers are safe, make sure that the Formula One cars are the fastest cars in the world, and make sure that the racing is close. We saw racing at the top, at the bottom, and the middle as well. Can't convince me otherwise.
And the racing would have been better if Max Verstappen would have not
Yeah.
dropped out of qualifying in Q1. So that's another factor. He was missing in that fight.
Can you
It,
imagine, Kunal, like the
it,
aggressive Max of the past, blocking people and putting we could see more of that with the battery packs and with the
yeah,
battery deployments.
and Zeno was saying the same thing. Max qualified with that RP pace, which seemed reliable. I think the race would have been a lot more enjoyable. Yes. And what you just pointed out, imagine after yesterday's qualifying, did we all predict that Ferrari would be this close? We all thought Mercedes is going to run away with it. Charles Leclerc said Mercedes is going to pull a second a lap on everyone. Basically, he was prepared to finish 50 seconds behind those Mercedes cars. So when we look at the weekend as a whole, I think it was a very positive one. Yes, a lot of people in the comments saying you can't be so sure early in the season. We are saying we are not sure. We are saying let's give it some time. But what we've
Yeah.
seen in Australia has assuaged a lot of my preseason negativity that was there. Lewis Hamilton's pace looked vintage. I cannot lie. I was surprised. And Hamilton was so chuffed. He said, I wish the race was 5 laps longer. I hated when drivers say that, but it's okay. Lewis can take an exception. He
See,
said, I wish the race was 5 laps longer. I would have gotten there. I wanted to ask him, what do you mean by gotten there? To the Mercedes or to Leclerc? But it didn't matter because of Ferrari was in third position.
my point exactly. My point exactly. Like the moment you see your favorite driver get back in the battles, you will inevitably fall in love with Formula One again. So just give it time, guys. Like, come on. Uh, it's I don't know. Okay, can I just put it out there, Kunal? This might be the bombshell that changes this entire episode. First, a disclaimer: Kunal and I are both the biggest Max Verstappen fans, fans of his ability. We
Absolutely.
absolutely are amazed. If you want proof, go back and listen to every episode of the Inside Line F1 podcast last year. We said things about the McLarens that I think probably would be too harsh if we look at it now. But basically, we are absolute admirers of Max Verstappen's ability. But I get a feeling that there's a few salty Max Verstappen fans here today, Kunal. There's a
Yeah,
few
I mean,
salty Max Verstappen fans.
And not Sandy. Sandy is saying, "Come on, Max proved that the car can climb the grid, and he can climb up the grid made by an energy drinks company, powered by an energy drinks company made power unit." I appreciate that. And what do you think about the start procedure? Do you think the FIA will change the starting procedure? Well, no, they're not, because this is actually the changed starting procedure where there's a pre-start and then an actual start. I wish it wasn't the case, but to avoid cars stalling, going into anti-stall, having double waved yellows, etc. This is already the new starting procedure. What else have we got to talk about, Soumil? Cadillac actually
Oh, yes.
had a 5-wheel pit stop. They changed the steering wheel on Bottas's car. I love saying that.
It was a good race for Cadillac. Uh, actually, day in the life of Cadillac. Let's do the last couple of minutes before we wrap up, and it's only fair we go to Cadillac at the end because they were at the end. But
Were they? They're not last in the constructors championship. It's Aston Martin.
oh yeah,
So why should you go to Cadillac last?
well, Aston Martin deserves a separate episode in the middle of the week, but we also got time constraints, so we'll adhere to that. But day in my life of Cadillac, falling mirrors, almost falling mirrors, broken parts, a car that stopped, a steering wheel change in the pit stop. What else? What else happened?
Checo Perez had a penalty, or he was being investigated for rowdy racing, if you call it that. But I think it's a great debut for them. And I know I said this on our commentary feed, but I don't like it when they say just us showing up on time, having everything on time, participating in all the sessions, and finishing the race is mission accomplished. But I'm just like, guys, this is a world championship. You need to be fighting for a world championship, not participating in it. But that's just me. Maybe I'm being harsh. And the other teams that did not participate, Williams as well, right? Horribly slow.
Horribly slow.
What happened there?
Horribly slow.
Alex Albon, I can just read one of the interviews I was sitting in with, was, "You need pace to make progress," and we did not have any pace. That's it. I wrote this down. I said it's a very great thing. And he said the Williams are half a second to a second away from the midfield. He was 26 seconds off Haas's Esteban Ocon.
Seriously?
Yeah. Can you imagine?
You
I mean,
have
the
been
gap.
beaten by the gritty Haas. If you know, you know.
Because if we look at the gaps were pretty embarrassing. The Ferraris were 15, 16 seconds off. And, early stint when they were battling, I believe they were just driving faster than they actually could drive, but they were just in the battle. So they said, just go for it. Go for it. They were telling both the drivers there. And then, of course, who else? Verstappen was 55 seconds behind, and Norris was 51 seconds behind, and all the way up to 7th place was lapped. You said 17 cars would finish the race, and guess what? 17 cars did finish the race, although Lance Stroll finished 12 seconds behind Checo Perez, and 12 laps behind Checo Perez, right?
Man.
And 15 laps behind George Russell. So Stroll actually had this plan. He would do 30 odd laps. He would come into the pits. They would change a lot of settings, and he would go back and drive more just to collect more data.
Yeah, it's part of the process, but solid debut for Cadillac. Only 3 seconds off on an average. Good, good. Under 107. We should talk a little bit on. Actually, it doesn't make sense to talk about that.
Zeno is saying we should talk about Isaac Hadjar. Great quali pace. Then with Max, great race. Both drivers looking competition ready. It's going to be a 3-way race to the top. And I pretty much agree so, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be more fun. And by Sandy saying Lando and Max finish 54 seconds behind, that's terrible. Do better. Do better.
I think it will converge. We've seen this before. Convergence is the word we use in Formula One. But Isaac Hadjar said it wasn't fun for him. They can't tell you the amount of issues I had in my car. And he said he would have actually fought for 3rd or 4th place if he wouldn't have had an issue. And goes back to our point. Ferrari versus Mercedes with a Red Bull in the mix. would have been even more box office. So, of course, a lot of these interviews are transcribed on my Twitter handle. You're welcome to go follow me there, while Soumil uses Instagram out there as well. But what else have we got, Soumil Arora,
Just
before we
one
call
last thing.
this quits?
Just one last thing. We need to address Max. Max is unhappy. Max is not happy about these cars.
And I
I'm
understand
seeing the
why.
clips. Yeah, ditto, ditto, ditto. So now what?
Great racing, but unhappy drivers. And that's precisely what George Russell said. So, what are you going to do? The drivers are not happy, but y'all are getting great racing. Wow, I don't know. I'm waiting to see how that turns out. And you will find out on the Inside Line F1 podcast. We will continue to report on it pretty much in real time, don't we, Samuel? With all the shorts that we put out, the sheer number that goes out on the channel.
Absolutely. We will be back in the middle of the week for our Chinese GP preview as well, where we go even deeper on these talking points and the troubles of Aston Martin as more details actually come out as the week goes on. But for that, you'll have to subscribe to us, Kunal, myself, ring the bell button, comment all you like, and Kunal has something to say.
Yes, so Mercedes already had a P1 t shirt that they wore in Australia. And they say they carry it every race, but they didn't get to wear it in the ground effects era as much. And what I think is my favorite stat. Mercedes won two. George Russell leading the drivers' championship after 1,624 days. The last Mercedes driver to do that was Lewis Hamilton after the 2021 Russian Grand Prix. But here's an even more fun stat. The last time a non-Mercedes a non-Hamilton finish for Mercedes. Oh, wait. I'm going to do that again. The last
Yeah.
time Mercedes had a 1-2 finish in the season opening race, right, was of course in 2029. But the last time they had a 1-2 finish before Lewis Hamilton was 1955 Italian
Wow.
Grand Prix. That's how long it has been.
That was the start of the day. And on that bombshell, it's time to close. See you guys in the middle of the week. Subscribe to the Inside Line F1 podcast. It's been awesome chatting with all of you guys. Praveen, KSG, uh, Sadhna was there, Sandia, Zeno MUFC, among many others. Art of Racing as well. Thank you guys for taking out the time and see you in the middle of the week. Bye bye.